The IMF already said back in October that the idea of closing the country to get a hold of the pandemic would damage the economy more than leaving it open is wrong, and they proved it by showing how countries that did harsh closure had bigger GDP recovery in the last quarter. Yeah, China is a great example of this. Most countries that had harsh restrictions that have been able to recover have shown to be successful in their economic recovery. Turns out they were fucking right. And countries that did not have that, where COVID is still ravaging them, are not doing all right. Imagine taking health advice from the IMF. I mean, it's literally in the IMF's best interest to maintain business as usual. So it's like one of the few instances where you can use the information that they're giving out, because their best interest is to make sure that countries continue opening their economy and going forward. It's literally in the opposite interest that they have. It was one of those instances where it's like, okay, well, you can use that information. Anyway, have you talked about this article? I've been seeing it passed around because no one will actually read past the New York Post, so it's fucking stupid. Hold on. I have to. What about economies that can't handle full lockdown for long times? If you can't handle full lockdowns for a long enough time, you probably need the lockdown more than anyone else. Because a continued COVID pandemic in your country is going to fuck up your fucking economy even worse. That's literally the point we're making. It's like the anti-maskers who were like saying we need to return to fucking regular order of business, right? And what did I say even back then, even last fucking year? Okay? Last year, I was telling you, everybody wants to go back to normal. Of course everyone wants to go back to normal, but the quickest way to go back to normal is by aggressive measures being put in place right now. Just shut the fuck up. Sit the fuck down. Make sure the government fucking helps you for literally just in the short term so we can go back to normal as quickly as possible. And that didn't happen. So we're not going back to normal. And we're literally just, we're kicking the can further and further down. Last year, 25 days ago? No, I'm saying for an entire fucking year almost, I've been saying this shit. The irony is, like, people that no longer want to wear masks right now are the reason why we still have to wear masks right now. If people shut the fuck up and wear masks early on, and the government took appropriate action immediately, and there was an aggressive shutdown immediately, we would not have this issue right now. Do you understand? USA is vaccinating the most people in the world. Stop being a doom poster saying we are not going back to normal. You're getting hard to listen to. Oh shit, dude. The United States is vaccinating the most people in the world. Never mind. I was wrong, I guess. No, we are actually doing the best. Percentages don't matter. You're right. Thank you for that. Anyway, it's top of the hour every hour. It's time for a 60-second ad break, as always, a contractual obligation. So, if you want to avoid seeing those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5, or you can do it for free. Here is the fucking ad right now, ladies and gentlemen. Twitch Prime is free if you connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Here it is. Here's the fucking ad. At the current rate, it's going to take until 2022 to vaccinate the population. Just heard from a teacher friend whose husband is a distributor. Like, people are still saying I'm fucking doom posting with 400,000 plus people dead. I don't know what to say to that. Like, I legitimately don't know what to say to that. If I'm doom posting with 400,000 people dead from COVID, I don't know how I should be positive posting.
Laboratories to the hallways. And
okay, this is the ABC coverage. Let's see what the fuck they're
who
talking
are
about
not
right
the
now.
president, federal judges, cabinet secretaries. And the only person for whom the Chief Justice sits as the judge in that trial is the sitting president. Donald Trump is no longer the sitting president, so somebody else has to do that job. As President pro tem of the Senate, Pat Leahy is the most senior senator in the majority party, now the Democrats, so he'll be the person with the gavel. That'll be one of the most visible changes that people will notice for this trial from the last. But at some point, we're also going to find out the structure of this trial, which will be different from the last one, likely shorter. And remember, you also don't have Mitch McConnell essentially working hand in glove with the White House in this case. So you won't have the Republican Party be quite as aligned with the president's defense team. Lots of changes that are going to become more apparent as we get closer to the start of the actual courtroom portion of this trial.
Garrett, what else do we know about witnesses or the timeline here? How is this looking? I know we will learn more as we get closer to it, but what are we learning, at least time-wise, so far?
Not a lot is the honest answer. This is something that's still being negotiated. And again, the negotiations are a little bit complicated because in this case, you have Chuck Schumer, the Democratic majority leader, negotiating with Mitch McConnell about Senate procedure. But McConnell only sort of speaks for the former president here. We know, for example, that, this idea of delaying the trial came to McConnell through the president's legal team. But he's not exactly going to, go along with anything that former President Trump's team.
Dude, what a dumbass take. Dude, bro, please, I love you, but please leave this talk for people who went to uni for 6 years studying this shit. You're right, big boy Omar. Going forward, I'm not going to talk about anything because I didn't go to uni for 6 years. Like, I'm supposed to deliver the information to you from people who are literally fucking professionals rather than all the dumbass information that you hear on the internet. And that's precisely what I'm doing. What the fuck do you want me to do? Like, what a fucking dumbass take. Literally every part of the media should shut the fuck up. Going forward, no one can actually communicate what experts are saying going forward. Only experts themselves. Can we find the experts? No, it's fine. Then don't say anything. It's actually better if people who don't have that kind of restriction, who don't really even give a shit about bringing about the expert opinion on these sorts of matters to run rampant. I did go to uni. I did, but political science, it's not relevant. It's not relevant to epidemiology. My friend's dad's boss divorced his wife because she told him COVID was real and he refused to cut anyone slack for getting sick at the factory. He's in charge of what? No, Biden is not actually live. This is the older video that's from earlier. I get bad allergies and I'm scared to get a fatal reaction to the vaccine. You were right. People don't deserve to have this amount of information. A lockdown is a delaying mechanism. It doesn't reduce the number of deaths. It pushes them into the future. Why then are we delaying? What do we hope to achieve by buying time? Vaccination will take years and the damage will already be huge by then. What? The fuck are you talking about, dude? There are literally, I mean, brother, Israel has already reached 44% vaccination. Like, what a psychotic fucking take. And no, lockdowns aren't just a time-saving measure. Lockdowns are there to make sure that the stress is relieved from the hospitals that don't have enough, that don't have a capacity. Except for all the Palestinians? Yes, except for all the Palestinians. It's still the same shit, dude. It's just like the arguments literally have not changed. Search up vaccinations per capita. As I'm looking at a vaccinations for per capita fucking metric, you want me to? I guess basically what you're saying is like I want you to show me a different one where I'm right. Doesn't matter. The United States is still doing relatively well. Not as good as the UK, the United Arab Emirates, or Israel. It's still doing all right, relatively well. But the problem is, and I've said this before, the United States is uniquely bad, just like the United Kingdom is uniquely bad at dealing with COVID in comparison to these other countries. You think the United States will ever get fully vaccinated? First of all, there is no such thing as like 100% vaccination. That's not a necessity. Depending on what the virus is and how contagious it is, you need to hit a certain percentage. I forget what it is for COVID currently. But I think it's like 70%. But regardless, you are battling stupidity from the globe. Kudos to you. I believe it's 75 to 85. 80% might be necessary between recovered and vaccinated with new strains. Yeah. Are you happy with LA's partial reopening? No, I'm not, because in a perfect world, what should happen is not a partial reopening, but instead giving businesses more money so that they can give workers more money. Because partial reopening is only going to spike numbers back up. Pains me that Puerto Rico, an island where I live, major vaccination spot right now, and the vaccination is crazy slow. There are COVID riots in Belgium. Riots are erupting. What the fuck? In the Netherlands, during protests over lockdown curfew, police used water cannons, tear gas, and dogs to disperse crowds as trouble broke out in several Dutch cities. What the fuck? What is happening, dude? A COVID test center was set on fire?
Z'n allen hopelijk, maar het wordt niet altijd even mooi bericht, te laten zien dat dit gewoon een stem is.
Why is this dumbass wearing a MAGA hat, bro? What the fuck is going on, dude? Yo. Hey, remember when I said, dude, I hate being right on this. Remember when I told you guys, like, hey, all of you from fucking Europe, you're laughing at America, but like we fucking spread our brain cancer at a higher rate than we fucking spread COVID, and you were like, no, it won't happen. Like, no, motherfucker, it literally happens. It's our #1 export, baby.
Stem van nee. We gaan echt in onze angst de verkeerde kant op. Begrijpelijk, maar heel erg de verkeerde kant op.
Netherlands did not want a fucking curfew that took place. Police used water cannons and horses and dogs to break it up.
Nou, wij zijn zeg maar zo even aangevallen door relschoppers, hooligans. die onze instelling waar mensen met een verstandelijke beperking wonen de ramen hebben ingegooid. Onze cliënten zijn daar heel erg van geschrokken en die zijn ook zeer bang.
Dude, I don't know anymore. Like, I just literally don't know. I don't know what to say to any of that. I don't know. Other than showing you the facts, and that is that lockdowns fucking work, masks work, and claiming that like it doesn't work 100%, which is why we should throw it out, is psychotic and is literally the reason why those measures don't end up working in the way that they're supposed to. So I don't know what else to... I don't know what else to say. The Netherlands is literally the last country on earth I believe people would do this. Pretty much the chuds versus the world at this point. I don't know, man. This bums me out more than like the fucking COVID news, honestly. Seeing people lose their fucking minds over this shit, like seeing people behave this way breaks my brain harder than anything else. And like these travel bans are not that significant.
Moderna has released the results of a new study that shows its vaccine works against some emerging variants of the coronavirus. The study found Moderna vaccines protected against two variants, one found in the UK and the other in South Africa. The drug maker says its vaccine is just as effective at blocking the British variant as the original strain of the virus in the study. It also found that while the drug's ability to fight the South African variant was reduced, it was still enough to protect against the virus. So I want to bring in Dr. Ron Elfenbein. He is the medical director and owner of First Call Medical Center. Thank you so much again. Good to see you this Monday. Dr. Elfenbein, Moderna performed this study on their own vaccine. It sounds like it's good news, but it's not a peer-reviewed study. You know, this has been happening a lot during the pandemic. Maybe it has something to do with just how fast we're moving, that, you know, we do tend to...
This guy's got a stake in it. He's in the industry.
To report on studies that the drug companies themselves have done that haven't actually been sort of double checked. But we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. So what do you make of the information that we're getting?
Yeah, so this was a study that Moderna did because of the two variants, the so-called B117 variant from the UK and the B1351 variant from South Africa, because people have been concerned. We discussed this last week. You know, I said the word concerning is a better word to use than worried. I still stand by that. So what they did, as you said, Anna Marie, is they basically did a study in a laboratory. Again, this is not in a human body. This is in a laboratory. And as you pointed out very, very correctly, this has not been peer reviewed. This is just Moderna using their own internal data. But they showed that the efficacy of the virus against the UK variant was essentially the same as the original variant or the original virus. And the effectiveness of the vaccine against the South African variant was actually sixfold. The antibody levels dropped sixfold against this particular variant, but it was still effective. So again, no reason to panic, no reason for people to worry. the vaccine is still effective against the South African variant, but it has a 6-fold decrease in its effectiveness, but it still reached the threshold level that they would consider effective. But again, this was a study done purely in a laboratory, not in a human body. So they're just looking at the effectiveness of the antibodies, nothing else. And I want to emphasize that the human body and the human immune system specifically is way more complicated and way more interesting than this study kind of lends itself to the data to look at.
Dr. Elfenbein, as you may have heard, Dr. Fauci was on CBS.
There's a Financial Times article that says Moderna developed a new vaccine to tackle the mutant COVID strain. And then like 8 other fucking articles that say Moderna vaccine protects against British and South African variants, company says. Moderna is launching a trial of COVID-19 vaccine to tackle the coronavirus strain that emerged in South Africa. Laboratory tests show that the vaccine still works against the variant, but it's warned that its shot produced only 1/6 of the antibodies in response to the South Africa variant than for the original virus, as he was already pointing out. So it still works, but it's not as effective as the other strains. Ay, ay, ay. They're making a booster to bring antibody levels back up to levels seen against the other variants. The lockdown hasn't been the problem here in the Netherlands. It's the absolute incompetence and lack of clarity from the government. It's unfocused unrest, ripe for radicalization because people that were already on the edge in shitty situations now see demons and everything. The other article didn't say what you thought it did. It specified new vaccine. Oh, it says a new vaccine. Okay. The finding was largely encouraging, but contained a clear warning sign. Even though the vaccine generated disease-fighting antibodies that worked against the South African variant, the efficacy was diminished. Moderna said there was a reduction in response, prompting the company to design a new potential vaccine that could be added to the current 2-dose regimen. Okay. I mean, that's concerning, but no, the one you got isn't useless. Guys, if you've already been vaccinated, you're in a way better situation than those who have not, okay? Whether you got the Moderna or the Pfizer one, even if you've gotten only the one shot so far, your first shot, you're literally better off than people that have not gotten it, okay? You're better off than me. I haven't gotten anything, right? When you get your second shot, you are super better off. Not 100%, but like significantly better off than people who haven't gotten any shots, okay? Like, way better. For a couple months, at least. This is going to force our vaccine response to become beast as fuck going forward? I doubt it. I'll bet you Harriet Tubman that vaccines are 5G zombie shots. Okay, stop. Now, that doesn't mean you should run around. There's still at least a month that you need to, or they say you need to wait you need to wait at least a month or so. I'm not exactly certain on the timeline for each individual vaccine, but the best thing to do after you get your vaccine isn't to go around and start kissing people, okay? Definitely don't do that after the first shot, and don't even do that after the second shot either. You need to wait a couple days until you're at least like you've reached immunity, and even then it's not 100% whether or not you can still carry the virus and give it to other people. We don't know. You could literally not have any of the worst symptoms, because that's what the vaccine does. The vaccine eliminates your worst symptoms, but you can still be a carrier for the virus and give it to other people, even if you have the vaccine. The point of the vaccine is so that the vulnerable population, those who would die if they were to get COVID, are vaccinated so the worst kinds of symptoms are eradicated. Okay? And that is the best thing that the vaccine does to 95% efficiency, is eliminating the worst possible symptoms of the virus. That can also have a secondary effect of not being as contagious if you don't have all the worst. There's studies that show that being vaccinated also stops you from being carrier. It's not 100% conclusive yet. Remember that antibacterial soap was said to produce more resilient bacteria? Memory cells produce antibodies that undergo mutations to be more specific to the infection. The vaccines generate memory cells. That's why testing the antibodies alone doesn't tell the full story. The vaccines are probably still going to work for mutant strains given the low rate of mutation of the virus. Please read. Please read. Honestly, my friend who's a nurse just got her second COVID-19 shot, and her only side effect is that her butt is sore. Oh. Efficacy. The virus isn't mutating fast enough to get past the vaccine. Maybe in 5 years we would have to worry about the change in the vaccine. Not getting the second vaccine and getting infected likely creates a good environment for viral mutations against the virus, similar to taking all... Oh, yeah. I don't know, but that would make sense. I just got COVID over Christmas and I want to know how long my antibodies will last. I don't know. What I do know is what I've read so far is up to 3 months, right? Or maybe 6 months. But I don't literally know. I genuinely don't know how much your natural antibodies stay in your body after getting COVID. But anyway, bro, Czech Republic news. They opened the bars and restaurants despite bans and said, fuck the government and restrictions. They can't arrest them all. Nice. I got COVID back in February 2020 and I still have antibodies as of last week. There's significant concern from the scientific community that the vaccine will be development strain that targets cuteness. Okay, dude. All right. I'm done reading. Anyway, it's so fucking varied. The reaction from your body is so fucking varied from person to person. Everything is so varied that, like, I can't tell you anything, okay? Because I don't know. Some people that are young will literally have fucking COVID and not even know that they have COVID. Maybe they lose their sense of taste for like a week. Some people just lose their sense of taste for 3 months, even all the way up to that, but nothing else. Some people have significant reactions despite how young they are and despite how fucking healthy they are. It's so different from person to person that it's impossible for me to give you anything. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why there's such severe restrictions, or there's advocacy for such severe lockdown restrictions. Part of that is because we just simply do not know.
Dominion Voting Systems has filed a 1.
Anyway, let's get to like some other non-COVID related shit because I'm fucking insanely sad. The more I hear about COVID stuff, the worse I get.
$3 billion lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani for defamation after he and others spread the false conspiracy theory that the company's machines flip votes from Trump to President Biden. This is a taste of the type of thing that Giuliani was saying. Listen.
A taste. Give us a little taste.
Last night, one of the experts that has examined these crooked Dominion machines has absolutely what he believes is conclusive proof that in the last 10%, 15% of the vote counted, the votes were deliberately changed.
CNN legal analyst Ellie Hodig joins us now. Ellie, $1.3 billion. How strong does this case look to you?
It looks pretty strong to me, John. In a defamation case like this, if you're the plaintiff, if you're Dominion Voting Systems here, you have to prove two things. One, that the statements the defendant here, Rudy Giuliani, made were false. I mean, they should have very little problem proving that. These statements Rudy Giuliani made were not just false, they were wild. The second thing you have to prove is that the defendant, Rudy, either knew they were false or was sort of reckless, meaning he should have known, easily could have known, but said them anyway. Those are the legal requirements.
Thank you, Dwayne the Rock Lob, for the 69 gifted subs.
And given the utter falsity, I think obvious falsity of what Rudy Giuliani said, I think Dominion's going to have a real shot to prove its case here.
You know, one thing that's interesting, and the Dominion lawyer points this out, they say that Giuliani never made the Dominion claims in a court of law when he would have been under oath. He only made them in public or testifying when he wasn't under oath. Why does that matter here to the point you were just making?
Yeah, it's a good point by the Dominion lawyers because it shows that it goes to Rudy's knowledge that these were false because.
Yeah. You really fucked yourself. Congratulations. You really played yourself because you wouldn't perjure yourself in a court of law. So you already fucking knew it was bullshit, but you ran around when you weren't in a court of law and lied over and over again. It's one of the few instances where the implication that you fucking knew that what you are saying was a lie could be proven. That's usually a very difficult part of libel and slander in the United States. That's like a super difficult thing to establish, and that's part of the reason why it's kind of hard to fucking sue people. Usually people just like respond to cease and desist in predictable ways, but you know, this is, you just kept fucking going with these lies even after you did not want to risk yourself and perjure yourself in a court of law.
If he really believed these, he would have said them in a court of law. The risk to doing that to a lawyer is you can get sanctioned by the court. You can get fined. You can get thrown out of the bar even. So I think that's a good indicator. Another interesting detail here, Rudy didn't just say something once. Sometimes in these defamation suits, it's one statement that a person said. You can argue, well, maybe they misspoke a little bit or were misunderstood. Rudy made the statements that Dominion complains about here dozens of times, up to 50 times, and it's harder to run away from that.
Dominion writes in its suit, after we asked Giuliani to retract his false claims, he doubled down and said he'd love to take discovery on Dominion. We're here to grant his wish and to remind him that discovery is a two-way street. What do you see there?
I see a bluff being called there. So discovery means when the parties exchange information here. And so Rudy was sort of puffing up and saying, oh, I can't wait to get the information from you, Dominion, because it's going to prove my wild theories about Venezuela. Dominion is saying, bring it on, because I think they're pretty confident that there is no such information. On the flip side, they're going to get to see what information, what texts, what emails Rudy Giuliani.
That's such a dumb fucking conspiracy too, man. Like, you didn't even want to, like, you didn't even want to come up with something that's like reasonable. That it's so fucking dumb. It's so stupid.
Has been involved in saying, which I think could only further strengthen their case.
How do you see this playing out in the end, Ellie? Is this something that will go all the way and you'll reach a verdict, or do you think some settlement will happen?
So the vast majority of these cases do settle because it's costly and risky for both parties to go to trial. I'm not sure Dominion's going to be in much of a settling mood here, given they've taken a very strong litigation stance, given the serious damage that's been done to the reputation. I'm not sure Rudy Giuliani is going to be able to settle for the amount of money that I think Dominion's going to require. So this one, I put this in the small group of the small category of cases that I think have a real shot to end up at trial.
They have every reason to push this until the very end here. Rudy Giuliani could be in some serious financial trouble this morning.
The letter says
he just doesn't have that kind of cake, though. Like, he's just not, he's not cheeked up like that. So it's GG's, you know what I mean? He's not even getting paid by Donald Trump. It's going to be kind of hard for him.
Dr. Anthony
Fauci, divisiveness has failed America. Ugh. Yo, I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm getting a little sick of Dr. Antonio Fauci, too. Like, oh, divisiveness is the reason why we're having such big problems. Like, I'm starting to get fucking annoyed with him, too. It's just like new Ben Shabibo.
There is truth and there are lies.
All right, let's
the
watch
dream
some
of justice
shit that
for
angers
all
me.
will be deferred no longer.
Ben Shabibo, Biden is now president. Now what? Okay. Now we can go back to regular order of business for the likes of Ben Shabibo. He doesn't have to fucking defend Donald Trump anymore. So now he can literally just talk about how Democrats are communists and they're dictators. And, you know, it's literally George Orwell, 1989. Animal Factory, Animal Farm, Animal Crossing. You know, all of that when Joe Biden says, like, you need to wear a mask. I accidentally said the right name when I was making fun of him. George Orwell's Animal Crossing.
Growing inequity, the sting of
That
systemic
he wrote in 1987.
racism, a climate in crisis.
That's
We
literally
must end this
1989.
civil war.
It was mainly kind of pablum.
Wait, he has new editors, I think. What did he do? Go to Nashville and get new editors? Because this is pretty good. The cutting of this is pretty good.
But here's the thing. When people use deliberately vague terminology,
Okay, never mind. The fucking shaky office-style camera is moronic, though.
like unity, without defining what they mean by unity, when they use deliberately vague language, like truth versus lies, but they don't define what they mean by truth and what they mean by lies, and when they say that there are a bunch of crises that are racking the nation and they misdefine the crises, this is the predicate for something that does not look like it's going to solve crisis, something that does not look like truth, and something that does not look like unity. So this has been Biden's shtick since the beginning of his candidacy, is that he was going to be a unifying figure in American public life. He's a weird...
Oh, God, he's going to do the... Oh, God, conservatives just literally bite off one another. Like, you never hear anything unique. It's so top-down. Like, you hear Karl Rove on TV cry about the same exact shit that Ben Shabibo was crying about on his fucking YouTube channel, and it's the exact same thing that any fucking MAGA commentator or any MAGA commenter on any fucking blog or forum or even in my chat is saying. It's all the same talking points. Unity? Oh, you mean to tell me that calling half the country racist and, you know, calling their cries for overturning the democratic results of an election to be a bad thing for democracy is unity? Doesn't sound like unity to me. Yeah, the only thing that trickles down in the Republican Party is just trickle down talking points.
Weird guy to do it. Right? I mean, just to begin with, he's a very partisan Democrat. He was a very partisan Democrat when he was in the United States Senate.
False. Joe Biden's entire shtick is that he was the Democrat that you could go to as a Republican to advocate for Republican policies. His main legislature, his main legislative accomplishments literally revolve around compromising with segregationists, trying to push the Democratic Party further right than the Republican Party. He was a champion of the Iraq War. I'm sorry to say this to all the Joe Biden stands in here, but the crime bill was so fucking aggressive that Ronald Reagan vetoed it the first time, and it had to be passed in different legislative packages because of how aggressive the Joe Biden crime bill originally was. Okay? So saying that Joseph Robinette Biden is like a partisan Democrat and he's known as like being the number one partisan is idiotic. His entire history revolves around being the most moderate Democrat you can be, the most centrist Democrat you can be, and literally working with Republicans all the goddamn time to pass Republican adjacent bills.
He was a very partisan Democrat when he was Barack Obama's vice president. He famously stated in 2012 that Mitt Romney was going to put black people back in chains. But put that to the side, he was going to be a unifying figure. And frankly,
again, baby. Republicans are babies, okay? They are babies, dude. Arab, all Republicans are babies. Like, his words by saying whatever the fuck he said about Mitt Romney, like, that's why he's partisan. Okay, well, look at his legislative accomplishments, brother. I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts to be like, oh, well, he said a mean word, and therefore he is incredibly partisan. Okay.
Nice. Right? I mean, we've been very polarized. People have been at each other's throats, culminating in a really ugly scene on January 6th at the Capitol riot. But the question...
Oh my God, the idea that like the Capitol riots have anything to fucking do with a democratic speech is so psychotic. I don't know how you can try it, but Republicans are trying it anyway, and I want to just congratulate Ben Shapiro for literally trying it, dude. It's actually Nancy Pelosi's fault that we fucking lied about the election results for months. It's actually Joe Biden's fault that we, in the Republican side, consistently cast aspersions of the legitimacy of the election in an effort to, you know, continue fucking making our money and continuing the grift so that these hogs get to a point of not being able to control themselves and literally act on those desires that we put in front of them. But it's actually the Democrats' fault because, you know, they were too divisive, and that's why the hogs were angry.
The question is, what does he mean by unity? So here is Joe Biden talking about unity. And his suggestion is that in order for there to be peace, there must be unity.
For without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos.
And when Joe Biden says something like, there has to be unity before there can be peace, you got to wonder, what does he mean by unity? Does he mean that disagreement is going to be widely allowed, or does he mean that if you disagree with me, I'm going to suggest that you are now disunifying and polarizing and wrecking the beautiful unity that would prevail in the absence of your stupid dissent? I'm not judging Joe Biden this early on. I'm asking whether Joe Biden is going to side with the left, whether he's going to side with the Democratic base, or whether he actually means what he says, and he presumes that he is going to uphold basic American principle and then dissent within that principle. Okay, and that brings us to number 2. Okay, again, a vague statement that can be interpreted a couple of ways. He talked a lot about truth versus lies.
Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth.
So again, unity means protecting the fragile egos of Republicans in the eyes of Republicans because they already get their legislative agenda across fairly regularly. So the only thing that you're left with is culture wars. Because like, if your goal is to prevent, if your goal is to literally obstruct, if your goal is to make sure that Congress and congressional power is as limited as possible, and that you stop the Democratic administration from doing anything, or at times when you're in power, if your goals, if your legislative agenda revolves around eradicating like federal agencies and its response and whatnot, starving the beast so that you can legitimize tax cuts in the future, and that is the long-standing ideological goal of the Republican Party, then you're getting all of that. You're getting all of those goals, and you're succeeding in all those goals. So Ben Shapiro can't fucking cry about those things. So he has to cry about like unity from the point of view of minor cultural grievances, like Republicans being called racist or something. Do you understand? Like unity from the point of view of like Joe Biden is Joe Biden's destroying the Muslim ban. Okay. Like that's not, why is that a legislative agenda item for the Republicans? Like the trans military ban or the Muslim ban. It's just idiotic. So Joe Biden reversing those decisions is whatever. It's not the worst thing. If Joe Biden was to advocate for larger tax hikes for the wealthy and corporations, then you have a real problem. Then you have a real legislative problem. So for Republicans, and because that's not going to happen, for Republicans, the thing that they're going to cry about is like, oh, they called us white supremacists.
Truth, and there are lies. Lies toll for power and for profit.
And that's why Ben is going to now say, well, he's mentioning lies, and he's going to say that, like, you know, Republicans are the ones who are lying, and that's not very unifying, bro.
The problem, of course, is that, again, when it comes to our politics, there are a lot of folks on the left who don't agree with that. They just agree with what they agree with. To folks on the left, it is a simple fact that America was rooted in racism, for example. To a lot of folks on the left, it is a simple fact that the police are systemically bigoted. To a lot of folks on the left, it is a simple fact that the gender pay gap is due to instinctive and ingrained American sexism, right? All of these are considered facts. Now, everything I just said, each one of those statements is an opinion. It happens to be based on very scanty evidence. When Joe Biden says that we have to distinguish between facts and lies, does he mean that in the very real sense in which 2 + 2 = 4 and 2 + 2 = 5 are not the same? Or does he mean things I disagree with will be considered as though they are lies, and things I agree with will be considered as though they are?
He took a long way of driving home that exact same thing that I was saying, but that's basically what he's saying. He's saying that, like, left operates on their own set of facts, and they're not real facts. And he's basically saying everything that Republicans advocate for are not facts.
Are facts. This is a very, very
again, like it's great. It's great to be so predictable because that's just how Republicans are. That all of the things that people endlessly deliberate on, or all of the things that people have conducted numerous studies on, I'm just going to say they're shaky without any evidence whatsoever. As my camera shakes, I'm not going to prove to you that those are shaky. I'm not even going to give you exactly what the fucking incorrect statements are. And then I'm going to follow on, I'm going to follow through by telling you that Republicans are, Republicans just simply want to have their point be heard in the conversation, but it's not, because they're immediately called out as lying grifters, because they are.
Important question, because during the Obama administration, it was very much the latter. Okay, which brings us to the third theme of Biden's inaugural address, and that was the crises that America faces.
A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
Okay, that is a political statement. It is not an objective statement of fact. There is no crisis of race relations in the United States other than the opinions that people hold about race relations. And the solutions that he is going to propose for that, as we'll talk about in a second, are going to verge on the racially discriminatory themselves. And then finally, he talked about climate change.
Oh, it's like the oldest fucking conservative line in the book, dude. It's not the racism that's the problem. It's actually doing anti-racism that's the problem, because anti-racism is inherently racist. And that racism is poof, gone, actually. And it's much better to, again, feel like racism is gone and it's no longer a problem in a country where there are clearly some very different outcomes for members of individual races. But that's on purpose, if you ask Ben Shapiro. That's because these people aren't just trying hard enough. But yeah, it's great. It's actually not the racism that's the problem. It's doing something about it. Of course, the question that you should ask people is, okay, well, if racial discrimination occurred throughout history along racial boundaries, how could you correct those mistakes without literally fucking focusing on, at least at some level, the race of the individual that's still experiencing the intergenerational discrimination or the consequences of that? That's you're asking stupid questions in that situation, because this person does not want to solve problems like caused by redlining, or solve problems that have caused by centuries of slavery and offering no fucking restitution as a consequence of that to black people, for example. Yeah. It is, in essence, no difference than saying it's actually racist to abolish slavery because, you're hurting the white people that need slavery to continue. What about all those white people that need slaves to continue their businesses? Which is an argument that Confederates made, so yeah. It's actually more racist to abolish slavery.
As an existential crisis for the United States, the solutions that he has proposed to climate change are utterly ineffectual. He has yet to prove that it is a crisis on the level of the immediate. And if he is talking about the crisis that is supposed to occur over the course of the next 100 years, he has not proposed any solutions that are directed towards solving that crisis. Those are the themes of his speech. Unity, which is, again, an empty vessel. It's got to be filled in. Facts versus lies. Empty vessel has to be filled in. And crises, 2 of the 4 that he mentions, are controversial to say the least. Which brings us to the second issue here. So for a guy who is unifying, you would assume that he would find some consensus policies, and then he would build around those consensus policies.
Just give me a crumb, dude. Give me a crumb of racism. Like, what are you doing? Come on, I'm Ben Shapiro. Let's say, hypothetically, you said you want to kill only 30% of the Latinos coming through the southern border. Hypothetically, that would be a unifying front that you are putting on. Let's say, hypothetically, you only want to jail 50% of the Mexican babies. that would be a cause for unity.
Policies. There are certain areas of American life where there happens to be fairly wide bipartisan support. Biden, with his initial executive orders, is jumping precisely into the areas where there is not significant.
Wait, what the fuck does that mean? Unity is when you allow Donald Trump's executive orders to continue without reversing it, as though every single American president has done time and time again. This is unity. Unity is allowing Donald Trump's executive orders to continue without reversing those decisions with your own set of executive orders, as every single president has done again and again and again. That's how you do unity.
Significant American bipartisan support. So to take a perfect example, he has decided that he is throwing out the 1776 Commission. This was a commission begun by...
There is no bipartisan support for the 1776 Commission. What the fuck are you talking about? Let's say, hypothetically, we assume that something that I like in the form of 1776 Commission is something that we need to have, because it'll really hurt my feelings if you hypothetically, destroyed that committee.
By President Trump. It was meant to rebut the 1619 Project, which is a fictionalized piece of propaganda put out.
Okay, 1619 Project is New York Times. 1776 Commission is literally an executive order created by the government. Shut the fuck up, okay? You are making a false equivalence here. If Joe Biden said, we're going to do the 1619 Commission now, then you could have a more legitimate argument. Do not even try to tell me that, like, some school districts are utilizing the 1619 Commission, or not commission, the 1619 research or project as a part of their curriculum. Again, that's entirely up to the states. It's like the fucking Daughters of the Confederacy advocating for whitewashing the Confederacy history very successfully in southern states and adding that into their fucking curriculum. It's idiotic. Also, one is closer to the truth than the other one. Sorry, the 1619 Project is infinitely closer to the fucking truth than what the Daughters of the Confederacy has done. Also, the 1776 Commission is literally just like fascist bullshit. And there is a reason why they did it in the last day of the fucking presidency, because they knew that they were going to reverse that anyway.
Out by Nicole Hannah-Jones and the New York Times. The basic idea of which is that America is rooted in and steeped in racism and bigotry. So Trump put together a commission that was supposed to re-inculcate American values and rebut a lot of those ideas. Biden's killing that one immediately.
Yeah, it's not unity, because Biden is killing something that that Donald Trump totally made up. Like, at least with the New York Times Project, like, there are historians that disagree with the 1619 project, right? There are historians that disagree with it. Who the fuck was the historian that they even looked at for the 1776 Commission started by the government, again, which is very different than the fucking New York Times doing a project, okay? Who were the historians that were consulted? I just made it up, okay? I made it up. I want to do a 1776 Commission which says white is right going forward. And if you want to fucking eliminate that, well, then you're the real racist.
Suggested that he's going to simply stop enforcing immigration laws in certain ways, the same way that Barack Obama did, so as to make it a lot easier to illegally immigrate to the United States. He has suggested he's going to jump right back into the Paris Climate Accords. The Paris Climate Accords are maybe the most useless piece of paper ever written upon.
Then why are you crying about it? He's not even wrong, by the way. The Paris Climate Accords are literally fucking useless. For all of the people who are crying about it, or were crying about it before and are now crying about it, what is way more significant is like the personal jurisdiction that mayors and state officials have over what kind of fucking emissions restrictions that they're going to put in place. Okay, that is more significant, and that's precisely why even after Donald Trump said we're pulling out of the Paris Climate Accords, every fucking governor was like, no, we're still going to continue on with the emissions restrictions and protocols set in place. There are way more significant problems that the Donald Trump administration did. It's largely symbolic that he said he's going to get out of the fucking Paris Climate Accords, okay? Like, it was symbolic. And just like it is a useless piece of paper, I guess, it's symbolic that Joe Biden said we have our commitments to the Paris Climate Accord, and we're going to reaffirm that. It's entirely performative. Ben even understands that it's performative, and yet he's still fucking crying about it. So what the fuck are you crying about if it's purely performative, you dumb fuck? Sorry. It's also top of the hour every hour, 6-second ad break. I'm going to run the ad right now. If you want to no longer see the ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5, or you can do it for free with the Twitch Prime. And then after that, we're going to continue on this video, okay? Twitch Prime you can get by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Here's the ad. Anyway. Fucking ad every second? Yeah, dude, I'm running ads every second. Except, no, I'm not. I'm running ads every hour for 60 seconds in the top of the hour, so.
Basically suggests that a bunch of nations are going to commit to targets that they have no proposals for actually hitting, but the goal is to shame everybody who is not a member of the Paris Climate Accords. He's appointing people who are unqualified for their positions solely on the basis of their identity groups. He has a new Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services who is transgender. That is the only headline that...
Wait, what the fuck? Wait. The trans secretary, like... I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Like, why would you... Why are you fucking saying that that she has no qualifications other than being trans? How is that in any way? Like, that's literally just saying, like, black people have no qualifications for the jobs that they have outside of being black. Like, that's why you hired. Or a woman that has no qualifications for the position that they're in outside of... You sound kind of mad, bro. Just chill, bro. I mean, that's fucking insane. That's insane to fucking throw out something so incredibly bigoted. What the fuck kind of qualifications do you have, dumbass? Like, yeah, I'm fucking mad, dude. Of course I'm mad. It's just straight up fucking transphobic. You're relying on the fact that other people who are listening to you are going to be transphobic to agree with you and say, yeah, they have no qualifications. Why shouldn't I be mad? It's nuts to say that Rachel Levine, or Levine, however you say it, has no fucking qualifications for the position that she got as a top health official after she was Pennsylvania's top health official. As Pennsylvania's Secretary of Health, Levine has risen to the national prominence for leading the state's public health response to the coronavirus pandemic despite repeated and ugly attacks on her gender identity. She was already confirmed 3 times by the Republican-controlled state Senate to serve as the Secretary of Health and the state's Physician General. Like, what do you want? Why are you... Where did it say she had no qualifications except her sexuality? You're making shit up to fit your narrative?
That is positive groups. He has a new assistant who are on Health and Human Services who is transgender. That is the only headline that is positive about this person. This person also happens to Health and Human Services for their positions solely on the basis of their identity groups. He has a new who are unqualified for their positions solely on the basis of their identity groups. He has a new who are unqualified for their positions solely on the basis of their identity groups. He has a new Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services who is...
What do you think that means? Should I replay it again? Because, I mean, listen, you're a conservative, so automatically I assume that, like, a part of your brain is missing. But what do you think it means when... What do you think it means when Ben Shapiro says... Joe Biden is appointing people into prominent positions despite having no qualifications for said positions. And then he follows it up by saying, the trans secretary. What do you think he means by that? Also, why are conservatives such fucking pussies, dude? Just own it. Like, it's so funny that, like, you literally want to say trans